Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for another sizzling episode of the Hotdish Hustle. Today, we're dishing out a conversation that's hotter than a North Dakota oil boom with a guest who's drilling deep into the world of artificial intelligence. Get ready to welcome the tech-tastic, the innovative, the one and only Scott Meyer from chip.ai. Scott isn't just your average tech whiz. He's the Picasso of programming. We'll talk about that later. The Einstein of algorithms and the wood chipper of Fargo when it comes to shredding complex problems. With over a decade of experience, he's stirring the pot of innovation, making AI more accessible than a Midwest potluck. As Scott himself once said, reality is stunningly elegant. Our understanding of it is not. And boy, is he working to change that. At chip.ai, Scott's head chef in a kitchen of cutting edge ideas. He's whipping up AI solutions that are transforming industries faster than you can say, you betcha. From healthcare to finance, his team is serving a smorgasbord of smart tech that's solving world problems with more efficiency than a combine harvester on the Great Plains. Scott's philosophy: the day we stop learning is the day we stop living. I love that. And he's certainly living that truth every day with chip.ai. But don't let his tech prowess fool you. Scott's not all bits and bytes. He's on a mission to make technology as friendly as a Fargo greeting. When he's not coding up a storm, you'll find him dazzling audiences with talks that blend tech know how with flavor, more flavor than a plate of Nefla soup. And if you think this journey has been easy, think again. Scott once quipped, I find that stubbornness often beats intelligence eventually. Stubbornness will beat anything eventually. That's the whole point of stubbornness. Scott, I love it. It's this grit that's propelled him to the forefront of AI innovation. So whether AI stands for absolutely incredible or am I in Bismarck? Scott's insights are guaranteed to leave you hungry for more. Get ready to feast your ears on a delicious mix of innovation, inspiration, and good old fashioned tech talk as rich as North Dakota soil. And remember, as Scott would always say, it's amazing how quickly we get used to weirdness when it's our own weirdness. So let's embrace the weird and wonderful world of AI, and let's give a hot dish hustle welcome, warmer than a buffalo plaid jacket, to the phenomenal Scott Meyer. Scott, how are you?
I'm good. Good to be here. Thank you.
Exciting stuff, man. Tell me
It's
about the
awesome to be here. Yeah, lots going on in the world of AI. Excited to chat through it with you.
yeah. So let's start there. Let's you said at one point that reality is stunningly elegant, and our understanding of it is not. So tell me about that philosophy. How does that shape the things that you're doing in your approach to chip?
Yeah, I think it's I'm trying to remember what I meant when I said that, but I think I think the key takeaway is that there's so much power right in front of us and we just have to learn how to use it, right? And I think the biggest thing I'm seeing in the world of technology and AI is that the biggest barrier is just the willing to start.
Yep.
Everybody has access to the tools. Everyone actually has the skills. Research shows that older people are actually better at using AI, and a lot of that is because they have the language needed. It's the renaissance time of the renaissance man or woman. It's if you're a liberal artist and you know about different areas of the world, you're going to be better prepared to ask good questions and be specific. So this is an exciting time for all of us who are liberal artists and like learning and have the chance now to do that with a virtual partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about chip. Give us the 30,000 foot overview.
Yeah.
What is chip and why should people care?
Yeah, well, Chip makes it easy to build AI agents. An AI agent is just a tool that helps you, work more efficiently, to share your knowledge, to get ideas. And so we do that with a platform where people can log in and in a minute or two, like create an AI assistant that'll help them with their job. And it can bring your knowledge in. So it gets trained on your website, your YouTube videos, your documents, and then it can share information out. So whatever you create with the AI can go to your emails or your documents or your CRM or whatever it might be. So this is a powerful way, I think, to get started with AI in a way that is for teams. So if you're just working on your own, like go use ChatGPT. You can chat back and forth. If you're working with a team, though, you want everyone to do it in a similar way, following company documents, keeping it private, and that's where like Chip is a good fit.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. There's so many uses when you start to understand and open your mind to the possibilities. Um, you know, there's so many ways. I think about it every day. There's five different ideas that come to mind, and I wish I had the time to work on them all, because AI is going to revolutionize the way that we live. It's the next technology forefront, right? It's like the Starship
Mhm.
Enterprise going, out into the great beyond, and we're finding all of these different planets and things where different things provide tremendous value when you try and understand it and learn how to use it. So,
Yeah,
talk about stubbornness, Scott. So you said
yeah.
stubbornness often beats intelligence eventually.
Well, I just think like I've seen this throughout my career now is the hardest thing to do is consistency, like just to show up every day and do the work. I do think, being in the Midwest, maybe that's part of the culture a bit more. And so you have an advantage leaning into that. Um, but you see it everywhere, whether it's, if you want to become an influencer on YouTube, like the first thing you should do is shoot a video every day for a year and then like think about all the other stuff. Like if you want to get a job, the first thing to do is probably to like build 10 projects in that area, showing people what you can do. And just by doing the work, you're going to get the results you want. And so I think with, in my world, it's like we have to show up every day and fix bugs and do this stuff that isn't exactly sexy or fun. But then you're positioned when the wave comes, right? When there is a potential client or a new technology emerges, like with Chip, we've spent a year building this platform plus, and when new stuff comes out, like say new voice or video features, like we have the platform in place to take advantage of it. And that's just from continually showing up and doing the work.
Yeah, you guys have done a great job with that. I mean, the
Thank you.
speed at
Yeah.
which you guys release features is incredible. And I heard it said once that, the beauty or the magic is in the planning, not necessarily the plan. Because,
Yeah.
you know, who is it? Somebody quipped about Mike Tyson. You've got a plan when you go into the ring with Mike Tyson, but
Yeah.
that plan changes when he punches you in
Yeah.
the face. So
Yeah.
it's all in the planning, because then when you get punched in the face, you step back into the habits, the planning, the foundation that you built. So super important, I think. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
um, so in AI, chip is I think, one of the solutions that's on the forefront of AI, and it's evolving every day. What do you guys do to stay ahead of the curve? How do you
Uh-huh.
and the team, Serge and other guys, how do you stay ahead of that curve?
I think with community, like I think we have a great community of builders within Chip that we've cultivated and work with, and having those folks share what they're reading, what they're seeing, what they're experimenting with helps us learn more quickly. Second is to use AI itself, right? Like having conversations with an AI tool. My favorite thing to do now is to turn on the advanced voice with an AirPod when I'm by myself driving or walking or whatever, and I can just like talk through ideas. Um, I read a lot, whether it's on X or on news sources, but what I find is like the AI labs, like OpenAI and Google and Anthropic, they're doing AI lab stuff. Like they're doing cool new features, but they're not translating that into how people should use it. And so that's kind of on us to do. And so it's fun to keep up and to be like, this thing is gonna change the world or this is gonna blow your mind, but I don't see that trickling down very quickly, and especially into specific niches. So I think that's where anyone listening can get a lot of value is take what's happening if you're keeping up somewhat, and then translate that into actual use cases.
Yeah, great, great. Because when I think about it, I can do a lot with ChatGPT, right? I can ask it to write me something, and then I got to check it, of course, and whatever. I can ask it to provide some information. It's almost like a better version of search, but that's really
Yeah,
limited, right? Because
yeah,
where the power really comes in, it's almost like the Microsoft Power Apps, right? Where you need to
yeah,
take that now, where you can, to your point, speak into it and say, I need to send an email to so and so that talks about our a follow up from our recent conversation. And
yeah,
AI, the beauty of what's coming with AI is the AI is going to go out and do that for you. So you
yeah,
now no longer have to go back and look at what the conversation was, synthesize that information into an email. The AI is going to do that for you. And obviously, you can set it to say, well, don't send until I review it, but it's going to do all that for you. So we're going to become so much more efficient. And those people, in my opinion, that don't leverage it are going to be left behind. It's almost
hmm,
like the in school when they grade on a curve, right? The kids that do really well, um, they do their homework, right? They master this. Some of them are just naturally smart, but those that don't lag behind, and that kind of follows them through their career in school. I think it's going to be the same thing with AI. I think you have to stay up with it. I think you have to stay current because those that latch onto it are going to be the ones that excel. And
yeah.
those that don't and they resist it, I think they're going to end up struggling in the future. So, just a couple words there for me, I guess. Thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think I always tell people the best way to learn and keep up is to use it. So find use cases. I think really easy ones is putting your to-do list into an AI tool at the beginning of the day and ask it how it could help, or use it as a thought partner to trying to solve a problem, whether that's parenting or work or working out, like fitness. Like it doesn't matter what the topic is. The best way to have good ideas is have lots of ideas, and AI just creates ideas for free, right? So you can just keep getting ideas. Think about it more as an idea machine than an answer machine, and
Yeah,
just use it to help your thinking more than give you like the exact answer, I would say.
good stuff. Good stuff. So, AI obviously becoming even more prevalent. Um, Ethical issues are starting to pop up. People are wondering about hallucinations. People are wondering about, when do we lose control, if you will, over AI, all that stuff. How do you approach some of these ethical challenges with Chip or at Chip?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to me because like we're deep in it, and I'm trying to solve things like being able to find a cell on a spreadsheet. So like concerns of this like super intelligence seem very far off for me. Um so I think in terms of the ethics, I think a lot more about what it's doing to how we learn and work. Um I am concerned about the hand on the wheel problem, which is, if AI is right 98% of the time, you just stop checking it and then stuff gets wrong. So I think that's a danger where it becomes good enough that we stop, double checking it.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's a risk, or not a risk, but just a change on how we value work. I often call it like, the value of sweat, which is like, in the past, you would have someone do something and it would take a long time, and that would show that they're a hard worker or that they care, and that could be writing a 10-page essay in college, or it could be creating a weekly analytics report for your boss, or, it could be any of these things, even writing like a handwritten letter, right? Or like some of these things that we do. It's like it matters because it takes time. But now the concept of time is really inverted, where it actually takes no more time to create a 10-page, essay than like a new app or a one line joke, right? It's all kind of the same. And so, how do you judge grit? How do you judge care? And I think it kind of goes back to the old Mark Twain quote, which is like, if you give me a week, I'll write you a book. If you give me a month, I'll write you a letter, something like that, right? Where it's like it
Yep.
actually takes longer to write like high quality, creative focused rather than just spewing out information. So I think there's a lot to reckon with there, especially in the education system, but also in the work
Yeah.
system where um, it'll be hard for people to know if people are producing because quantity doesn't necessarily reflect like effort. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because the equation of exactly to your point. So how do you value someone? And I don't mean it as an individual, as a person. So don't get me wrong here, but how do you value their work? And
Yeah. Hmm.
like you said in the past, it's been about how much do you get done. And I think
Right.
in the future, it might be how efficient you are. So,
Mm,
if
mhm.
I'm able to do the work, we're both being paid, let's just throw a wild number out there, $10 an hour. And,
Mhm.
you're able to produce 10 pieces of work in that hour. Um, that's a dollar per piece of work. But
Yeah.
if someone else is using AI and they can produce 20 pieces of work in that hour, is the market going to recognize that and be able to say, well, they're worth twice that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to think about because our equation of money to time is kind of where all that sits right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that paradigm opens up when you start thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, we're thinking a lot about it because we're trying to figure out how the best price chip, right? And people are pricing AI tools in like, four main ways, which is like first as a traditional SaaS product where you're paying monthly. Some people are pricing it per seat, so everyone who uses it has to pay. That's like what OpenAI and Microsoft do. Some people are pricing it based on outcome, right? So you only pay when you get a successful support ticket closed or you get a successful code shipped. And then some people are pricing it like a human, right? So it's like number of
Yeah,
tasks done. So I think this is going to be interesting because I saw a pretty good one liner I like that, in the past, workers were a source of tax. You had to pay tax for employees. And now when you think about AI being a worker, it's actually tax deductible research and development expense for your company, right? So it's like you're actually not only are you paying almost nothing, you're also able to write it off as a business. And so it really flips like cost centers.
yeah,
And I think it'll be interesting to see what people like how we pay for it and what that does for wages. I suspect it'll follow kind of media and what I call like the smiling curve, which is you kind of have groups at the polls. Like you either have people who are super specialized and high performers in specific areas. So this would
uh-huh.
be the developer who can coordinate lots of AI or junior developers, or somebody who's a specialist at doing something. And then you have a lot of people who are be able to use AI to create whatever is needed, right? So it's more
Mm,
quantity based, and I think you see that in the media. You have New York Times. This is like massive institution that does everything, and then you have like Substack authors on the other end who are highly focused and also like doing well if they have an audience. So it's like I imagine that's what we'll see a trend towards is, I'm going to pay a high ticket for a tutor that is really good at teaching Mandarin for a 11-year-old. But maybe for general education, like I can get that like almost for free using AI and other tools. It's like, what does that do for teaching salaries or for engineer salaries or design salaries? Like I think it'll be a fascinating world.
yeah. I mean, it's almost like the long tail of search from years gone by, right? Where you've
Yep.
got search terms. There's certain search terms that were very expensive because they had a very high volume of people searching for that in an ad.
Yeah.
And then you had what they called the long tail, which was
Yeah.
the very specific, much less search terms, but again, very specific, very targeted. So
Yeah.
I don't wonder if we're going to end up use software engineers as an example. You're going to have a software engineer that if they have AI skills and can develop based on AI and blah blah blah, it's going to be more valuable than
Yeah.
just the junior coder that understands how to code with AI, right? And
Yeah.
then maybe
Yeah.
if
Exactly.
some kind of combination of that. So it's
Yeah.
just really interesting to think through that. But
Yeah, and I
Um,
think it's like, I always gave this advice even before AI, but it's like, Scott Adams always had this quote that who the creator of Dilbert, where, he said, "I'm not the funniest person, I'm not the best drawer, I'm not the most knowledgeable, like, person and talking about workplace culture, but if you put those 3 together, like, I'm gonna be the best illustrator who has jokes and has experience in corporate America," and, like, I think that's gonna be the same thing with in the world of AI, like, the way you'll stand out is by having a Venn diagram of overlapping skills that other people don't have that combination.
yeah, yeah, it's that combination that'll be critical. Yep, that's for sure. Um, can you talk to us a little bit about what's ahead? Um, what's the exciting potential of AI? What applications? Talk a little bit about the crystal ball, 5 to 10 years. Where do you see all this going?
Yeah. I think it'll get more personalized and more autonomous so that everyone has agents which are basically pieces of software that work exactly the way that they work. And so that you can go in the morning and say, I want 5 ideas for a blog post, and then I'll pick one, and that blog post will be written, automatically posted. Then you'll go review it, and then it'll get posted and shared on social media automatically. So it'll be a flow of work where you have certain check-in points where you are more of a conductor than a producer. And so you as the human can come in and check at or give approval, just like you would with like a younger employee, right? Who might bring a report and you look at it and say, that looks good. But what's interesting to me is that this is all like very individual. So I always say it's more grassroots than enterprise. It's a company's not going to buy a workflow and give it to everybody. Instead, we all work differently and have different skills. And so the ability to customize that will be really important. So I think ultimately every secretary will have a secretary, every VA will have a VA, every designer will have a designer. Like we'll all have a clone or a duplicate or a protege, I like to call them. They're not as good as you, but they're able to do 80% of the work, and you wanna give them the tasks that are monotonous and repetitive so you can spend more time on the high value critical thinking tasks.
Yeah,
Um, so I think about AI as like a floor raiser, like it makes everybody better on average, but that last 10% is definitely up to you. Another good way to say it is, AI is a really good cover band, right? Like it's not going to create the original song that people love, but it'll be able to recreate versions of that song that are almost as good. So it's going to get your work above average. And for a lot of our work, unfortunately, like above average is all you need, right? Like when you're emailing your team or you're doing a report or an agenda, like nobody cares that it's like, well, it's the most creative agenda I've ever seen, right? So don't spend your creative energy there. Like just let the AI help, but then spend your time writing, the strategy document or whatever it might be that requires some out of the box thinking.
yeah, yeah. So many of those old adages come true, right? Like the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
The AI is gonna do the 80% of the work that you don't like to do and allow you to focus on the 20, or the
Yeah.
80% that doesn't bring you value. AI is going to do, and you're going to do the 20% that brings you value, and you'll be able to move that up and scale. And
Hmm.
then also to your point, I think we have to keep in mind KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid,
Hmm. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you could make the most intricate, to your point, agenda, but who cares? Let's get to the point, right? I mean, it's about
Yeah. Exactly. Do the thing that
efficiency and
matters.
effectiveness. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Advice: aspiring AI professionals. What advice would you give them?
I would say you need to start using it and use it in specific areas. So I would go to a business, go to somebody who's doing work and just shadow them. Maybe you already know the business because you're in it, but just shadow somebody or watch what people are doing around you for a day and then just find ways that you can start to use AI to speed up little pieces of that and then help those people do that. And you're going to learn a lot integrating that, figuring out where the holes are, where it's not good enough, where it doesn't save time, and that'll force you to really focus your learning on the things that matter. I mean, anyone can open AI and start talking to it, but it becomes a lot more complicated when you start thinking about how do we reproduce this every single time in a high quality way? How do we get other people to use it? What happens in these edge cases? And that's like where the real world is going to be the best teacher. So Like find a problem, try to solve it with AI, and then share it. So if you're trying to get a job in AI, you're trying to get a raise, whatever it might be, like I'm a big believer in building in public, which is basically sharing what you're doing while you're doing it rather than after. So it's kind of like showing your work in math, right? Like write a post on LinkedIn about what you're doing and what you think will happen, and then give an update a week later to share what happened. And most of the time, no one will notice, but it's like we have these robots ready to work for us, pushing our content for us out into the world. And once in a while, somebody will see it and reach out to you and be interested in working together or collaborating or asking questions. And that's the best way is just share what you're doing and keep building.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, one last question, Scott. And this is something
Yeah.
that um, I like to connect people with others, right? And because
Yep.
I think a lot of times we get so busy in our own lives that we don't take the time that we need to network the way we need to. So here's a
Yeah.
question for you. Um, who is somebody that you would want to meet?
Mm. Yeah, I really enjoy the thinking of Ethan Malik, and we share, a lot of similar background. Where he's still in education at Wharton. He taught entrepreneurship, which is the same thing that I taught for a while at North Dakota State, and he's thinking deeply about what AI means for like normies, like how do we translate this stuff. So yeah, I'd love to have dinner with him and talk AI and just hear more about his journey and how he brings the concept of education into his work. So that would be a really fun dinner.
All right. So anybody listening, if you know Ethan Malik from Wharton, we'd love to hear from
Yeah.
you and do a personal introduction with Scott.
Hey, that'd be
So
great. Yeah.
yeah,
I'll even do it on the phone. It doesn't have to be dinner, but bonus points. Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So Scott, I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. I love what you're doing with Chip. Um, any last words?
No, I think go build. We want to help out and would love to see what your ideas are. So everyone can use Chip for free. So you can go try it out and then give us feedback. Would love to help out.
Yep, chip.ai, everyone. Scott, thank you so much for your time again, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your week.
You too. Talk soon.
All right, take care.